today I'm reviewing the Smith & Cult Veiled Threat Micro Blur Weightless Foundation. And really quick, I just want to say I purchase all these products with my own money, so if you want to help keep the channel independent, check out my products at nobsbeauty.com and check out my 100 Days, 100 Masks challenge. I'm on day 68. So, and you know what? I really didn't think I was going to have 100 masks to use, and I haven't even dove into my sheet mask collection. You know, all those beauty subscription boxes, it seems like they always throw in either an eyeliner or a sheet mask. And I've got tons of them, and most sheet masks, they just don't stay on my face very well, or I have to sit down, or I have to lay down wearing them, and I don't like it. I prefer squeeze tube, rinse off mask. So I found 100 of them to use, and to be honest, I could keep going probably. So anyway, on to the Smith & Cult Foundation. So, Smith & Cult is now at Ulta. I've got a few Smith & Cult products from before they're at Ulta, but now that they're actually in Ulta, I walked through the aisle where their products were, and I saw it, and it was pretty newer to me. I haven't tried a ton of their stuff, but I saw their foundation, and I had to try it. And so far, I'm wearing it today. I've been wearing it in all my reviews lately, just trying it out. So now I'm ready to give you my thoughts based on my Sarah score scale. And my first criteria is packaging. And the packaging is nice, simple glass bottle with a pump tube, which is kind of, I prefer it. Although if they could fit it into a squeeze tube, that would be okay. But decent packaging, no real frills, but I love the pump. So at least you're not just dumping it out. So very nice job on the packaging. My second criteria is alcohol, and this is really the only slight issue I had with this foundation, is that it does have a very, very small amount of denatured or drying alcohols. It is not in a large amount. I believe they call out aloe as calming the skin, and the denatured alcohol actually comes a little bit before the aloe, which is the only real issue I had. If you're going to call it aloe, at least put it in a little bit more amount than the denatured alcohol. So really, it's such a small amount. It's in the last third of ingredients. So it's not really a huge issue for the most part. But some people might be more sensitive to it. So thankfully, it's not like one of the first 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 ingredients. But it is in there in a small amount. So really not a huge issue, but I should point it out. My third criteria is fragrance, and this does not have any fragrance ingredients, and it has no scent at all, so that is a very good thing. My fourth criteria is the manufacturing location, and this is made in Italy, so no issues with that. My fifth criteria is ease of use, and very easy to use. So I've been using it with a beauty blender sponge, which for the most part you can use with any damp sponge. I've been very successful applying it with that. I've also used it with a brush, and that worked out okay too. I prefer to use the beauty blender because when it's damp, you can kind of thin out the foundation a little bit and blend it. I just find it to be a little bit easier to blend with a damp sponge than a brush. But so very easy to use, smooths over skin nicely, plays well over primers, over sunscreen. The shade I have is 180 Cool, so I thought I should point that out. But very easy to use, blends in nicely, no noticeable issues with it, dries to a nice matte finish, and yeah, it shears out nicely. So it is full coverage, in my opinion, it's full coverage, but it doesn't end up looking cakey or unnatural or fake, kind of like some do. So I'll get more into detail on the performance criteria about that, but in terms of ease of use, it's very easy to use. My sixth criteria is antioxidants and pigmentation, and the pigmentation is great, full coverage. What impressed me a lot is that this comes in 52 different colors or shades. So if you have the most fair finish to the most dark chocolate finish, you can probably find a shade that matches you pretty well. I found the 180 Cool, it's probably a little too dark for me during the winter when I don't use any bronzer or self-tanner or sunless tanner. But the shade is a little forgiving. So if you don't have the exact match when you blend it out, for the most part, it's pretty forgiving. So I liked that. And so the pigmentation is great. The shade range, I love that they've included 52 colors. You know, I wonder what is the foundation that comes in the most different shades. There's got to be like a brand or a foundation that comes in like 100 shades or more. But 52 is impressive for the most part. So, and then in terms of beneficial ingredients, they included a couple. Aloe, again, a little bit after denatured alcohol, which I'm not a huge fan of that, but barley, rice bran. So it's got a few beneficial ingredients. Not a ton, but anyway, the pigmentation is pretty good. So they did a good job with this. My 7th criteria is animal testing, and the Smith & Cult brand is cruelty-free, so that's always a good thing. My 8th criteria is performance, and it works nicely. I would really, what this foundation reminded me of, and there's not a, you know, lately I've been trying foundations that'll remind me of another one. This one really did remind me of the BareMinerals BarePro, just in the application, the liquidity of it, the forgiveness of it, the formula, just, it really reminded me of it. So I just want to point that out. If you have BarePro, or if you've tried BarePro and really disliked it, maybe you might not like Smith & Cult as much. So I just wanted to point that out. But it performs nicely. So when you put this on in the morning, like yesterday I put it on and I did a lot of things. I was in and out, went to the gym. It was like -5 out all day, which was cold. And at the end of the day, it still looked good. And that's hard for a lot of foundations, because by the end of the day, many of them are kind of cracked. Like on my dry skin, they have clinging to dry patches, flaking, just not looking very good by the end of the day. This one looked great. It doesn't really cling to dry patches at all, which is nice. That's hard to do for a foundation. But it's got a nice matte finish. It didn't end up looking oily or anything, so works well over primers, over sunscreen. I didn't have any issues with it at all, so that was nice to see. I do recommend, if you have dry skin like myself, I really do recommend applying a primer underneath. A hydrating primer is, that's what I've been using. I've been using the Marc Jacobs Coconut Undercover Primer, I think is what it's called, which is pretty hydrating. So if you have dry skin, I do highly recommend that, or really moisturizing it beforehand. So that was nice. This does have a lot of silicones in there, so if you're not a huge fan of a lot of silicones, just beware about that. And that's probably why it does so well throughout the day, because some of those silicones absorb any oil that comes to the surface and lets it kind of smooth over skin more nicely. So performs great, in my opinion. My only thing, well, hang on, I'll get to number 10. My 9th criteria is the price, and this is the full size, which is actually 1.11 ounces. So it's a little bit over the average 1 ounce foundation, and it sells for $42. So it is a little pricey, however, for a kind of premium or prestige brand. That's not a ridiculous price, especially the fact that a very small amount of this goes a very long way. So I think a bottle will last me at least, I would say, probably 3 months. So that's nice to see. So I didn't think it was that expensive that I wouldn't repurchase it. But always search for a coupon before you pick it up. So, and then my 10th criteria, which is the it factor. There would be a couple small changes I would make. I would probably see if there's a way to remove that little bit of alcohol that was in there. And I would like to see this include perhaps an SPF in the future. That would be kind of a nice 2-for-1. I'm a big fan of layering sunscreen, so use a moisturizer with SPF, use a foundation with SPF, finish with a powder that has SPF, and you're really good to go. Anyway, this doesn't, so make sure to use a moisturizer or a primer that has sunscreen on underneath it. Yeah, so I really like it. Works well with my dry skin. Yeah, although I like on the package, illuminating mousse to cream foundation. It's not a mousse, nor it's a cream. It's a liquid foundation. I don't know. I guess they have to say that to make it sound a little more exciting. I don't know. It's a liquid. Nothing wrong with that. So overall, this got an 8 out of 10, which is pretty good. Worth checking out. So I'm interested if you guys have had a chance to check this out. And if you have, what your thoughts are, or if you're trying anything else out from Smith & Cult, what have you tried and how have you liked it? So leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. And check out the Amazon link below. And nobsbeauty.com. Shirts are there and more fun stuff. So thank you guys so much.